Asked if UAW members deserved a 40% raise, one of their demands over the course of negotiations, Biden said yes. Most pro-worker Republican president in existence goes to not the union shop. Right. So President Joe Biden grabbed a bullhorn on the picket line on Tuesday and urged striking auto workers to stick with it in an unparalleled show of support for organized labor by a modern president. Donning a union ball cap and exchanging fist bumps, Biden told United Auto Workers strikers that, quote, "You deserve the significant raise you need," as he stopped in the Detroit area. CNN reports that his visit came just a day ahead of a planned visit by former President Donald Trump, the frontrunner in the Republican nomination in next year's election. Quote, "No deals, no wheels," workers chanted as Biden arrived at General Motors parts distribution warehouse, one of several facilities that has been targeted in a widening strike now in its 12th day. No pay, no parts was another. Despite concerns that a prolonged strike could undermine the economy, particularly in the crucial battleground state of Michigan, Biden encouraged workers to keep fighting for better wages at a time when car companies have seen rising profits. Asked if UAW members deserved a 40% raise, one of their demands over the course of negotiations, Biden said yes. The White House said Biden was the first modern president to visit a picket line. Biden joined picket lines with casino workers in Las Vegas and auto workers in Kansas City while seeking the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination. But a sitting president who have to balance the right of workers with disruptions to the economy, supply chains, and other facets of everyday life have long wanted to stay out of the strike fray until Biden. Unimpressed, Trump called Biden's visit, quote, "nothing more than a PR stunt from Crooked Joe to distract and gaslight the American people from the disastrous Bidenomics policies." What disaster? I mean, inflation's bad, but that's not Biden. Biden's actually done pretty good to stop inflation. Anyways, enough of this ramble. That have led to such economic misery across the country. End quote from Trump. Now, Biden's visit to the picket line was the most significant demonstration of his pro-union bona fides. His record includes vocal support for unionization efforts at Amazon facilities and executive actions that promoted workers organizing, as well as people being appointed to the NLRB that have given the workers more rights and actually been on their side a bit more than they were in the past, based Biden. Now, he has also earned a joint endorsement of major unions earlier this year. The United Farm Workers announced their endorsement of Biden on Tuesday, calling him, quote, "an authentic champion of workers and their families, regardless of their race or national origin." The UAW has not yet endorsed Biden. Asked about that after landing in Michigan, Biden told reporters, "I'm not worried about it." Now, for his part, though, Trump's trip to Detroit didn't really go as planned, and we'll talk about that now. So Donald Trump did visit Detroit the day after Biden appeared on the UAW picket line, but Trump went to a non-union shop. Most pro-worker Republican president in existence goes to not the union shop. Right. I have a friend of the show likes to talk about how the Republicans are winning workers that already have made gains and have permanent positions of kind of power in the workers, and they're getting less power. They're losing it with people that need to still fight for those rights and those gains. This could be a little bit of that. Maybe if Trump is smart, I guess, or subtle, but I don't see it. I just think he's like, UAW supports Biden, I'm going to go against the UAW. So he and his campaign claimed that 400 or so people who showed up were mostly retired union or active union. But according to the Detroit News, that didn't track at all because he's a braggadocious. He likes to exaggerate things. He likes to make shit up. So of course it doesn't track. But amid a historic strike by the UAW against Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, Trump said, quote, Your current negotiations don't mean as much as you think. Trump argued that regardless of the outcome of the strike, the bigger threat to employees was the shift to electric cars and trucks he described as a hit job on Michigan and Detroit. Quote, "You can be loyal to American labor or you can be loyal to the environmental lunatics," Trump said at one point. But you can't really be loyal to both. It's one or the other. Let's talk about this a little bit. Let's expand on this bullshit. The reason why this is being said, and it's got, no, it doesn't even have any truth, but there's a kernel of a little bit, okay, is that electric vehicles require less moving parts than ICE vehicles, combustion engines, internal combustion engine cars. And so with less moving parts, that means less labor, which means maybe a little bit less jobs, and therefore bad for workers. I guess that's true to an extent, but unless you're willing to just ban electric vehicles, this is going to happen regardless. And so since that is the truth, where would you rather have electric vehicles built? You want them built in a union shop in America, giving Americans access to good paying jobs and reduced time to market and reduced cost for those vehicles due to everything that goes involved in the vehicle and the supply chain and all that stuff, all these knock-on effects? Or do you want those vehicles to be built by China, Germany, Japan, India, and imported into the United States as people like me start looking at electric vehicles to replace our current ICE vehicle, or hybrids in my case, with something that's a bit more new and snazzy and better for the environment overall? Requires less maintenance, which means less cost to my pocketbook over time. I think the answer should be obvious. The answer is that you want them built in America. And so that's where we are. But Trump doesn't want that at all. He thinks climate change is a hoax. Even if it was, people are still going to go to electric vehicles because it's cheaper. It's just cheaper. And they're better, healthier. So it's going to happen regardless. Hence why having these fights are important. Kevin Munoz, spokesman for Biden's re-election campaign, described the speech as incoherent and, quote, "a pathetic, recycled attempt to feign support for working Americans. Americans have seen him try this before, and they aren't buying it," Munoz said. "They know who Trump really is, a billionaire charlatan running on empty words, broken promises, and lost jobs." During his remarks, Trump heaped blame on Biden and encouraged the crowd to get the UAW to endorse him. He told workers to reach out to Shawn Fain, president of the UAW, and tell him if the union backs Trump, Fain could take a vacation and they would be better off than they ever were. Trump later characterized the transition from gas engines to electric vehicles as, quote, "a transition to hell," a phrase he has repeated on the campaign trail this year. Again, as we just stated, bullshit. The event was held at Drake Enterprise facility. Drake Enterprise employs about 150 people, and the UAW doesn't represent its workforce. It wasn't clear how many auto workers were in the crowd for the speech, which was targeted at them in the first place. One individual in the crowd who held a sign that said "Union members for Trump" acknowledged that she wasn't a union member when approached by Detroit News reporters after the event. And this is a thing that Trump has done repeatedly throughout the campaign process, going all the way back to 2016, when they were trying to get black people and look like the black people were represented by Trump, represented black people, and black people like Trump, prior to people actually joining it to a degree. There was white people holding up signs saying blacks for Trump, right? It's just to give the illusion of broad support. They just hand out these signs to whoever comes in. Hey, you look like you might be a union worker. Here, have the sign, hold it up, go to the front crowd, yada, yada, yada. It's just to manufacture the illusion of support. It works, as sad as it is to say. So you can't really hate the guy for doing something that works, especially when, he's already a liar. Another person with a sign that read "Auto Workers for Trump" said he wasn't an auto worker when asked for the interview. Again, this is just going to continue. It's just going to continue. Neither person provided their name for the report, though. The signs were not connected to the UAW either. They had "Campaign for Donald J. Trump" in small print near the bottom. So, as we said, the illusion of support. Because you have to create spectacle. You have to create the illusion of you being president liked by the working man, and then maybe some working people were like, oh yeah, maybe he actually likes us. Same thing with Latinos for Trump, same thing for blacks for Trump. This isn't just a Trumpian thing. Obama did not this level of shit. He didn't do the sign thing, but he projected an air of being presidential through props and things like that. It's actually one of the 48 laws of power, believe it or not. I really should make that video eventually. But anyways, though, that does conclude this segment of the news roundup.